What's good? It's Woog. I just finished watching Chantelle Cameron versus Katie Taylor 2. I lost money on Chantelle Cameron versus Katie Taylor 2. And I never thought I would be saying this, but I'm happy to have lost money in Chantelle Cameron versus Katie Taylor 2. Now, losing money is always a bummer, right? You don't want to you don't go into a bet saying, okay, how can I lose this money? But, and I picked Chantelle Cameron. I think I went the extra mile and went via decision specifically. I just thought that, that Katie Taylor, no matter how bad the fight was going for her, that she was going to make it the full 10, especially, with those 2-minute rounds. It's always so dicey, even judging wise. It's harder with 2-minute rounds. You've got less of a sample size to work from, and everything is just at such a frenetic pace. Well, be that as it may, Katie Taylor was a significant underdog in this fight. Like, not a massive and huge underdog, but substantial enough to where it wasn't worth it for me to just pick Cameron to win. It was the extra or closer to getting your full investment back on top of your full investment back, like your full investment's worth. You had to basically do a little bit extra, and so I picked Chantelle Cameron by decision. But that more so just spoke to my high regard for Katie Taylor and her durability, but also because of the format of women's boxing as it stands with the 10 2-minute rounds. But, heading into this fight, there was conversation about, like, if Katie Taylor loses this, back-to-back losses to Chantelle Cameron at 37 years old, should she retire? Like, there was just all this talk. And, I don't want to say that the public wrote Katie Taylor off, but I don't know, like, it sounded a little bit like a lot of the public was writing Katie Taylor off and kind of writing her boxing obituary. But, I thought Chantelle Cameron would end up winning this fight. What I was worried about, what really was just a clash of heads because of how aggressively Katie Taylor was jumping into the pocket. So as I'm watching the fight, I'm finding myself just appreciating, like, the story that I'm seeing play out. Like, Katie Taylor was nothing short of heroic in this rematch. And, there was nothing pretty about this fight. Katie Taylor was 100% dog. I know she was punching faster. She was looking a lot quicker, getting off a lot quicker, beating Chantelle Cameron to the punch, moving a lot better to where Chantelle Cameron wasn't able to just keep on walking her down with the pummeling jab and with the shots to the body. No, Katie Taylor was moving a lot more effectively, punching a lot more effectively, and she was legitimately getting the better of those combinations, of those exchanges, where it would seem at times like, damn, Katie Taylor's always getting the first punch off in the exchange and often getting the last punch off in the exchange. And there was a lot of, like, punching in the clinches. Like, this was a fight. Yes, Katie Taylor, you could argue, did improve on certain things technically, but this was a dogfight. And, just the clashes of heads. I thought that I was just going to lose my bet right there. Like, oh, they're going to end up smashing faces and they're going to stop the fight due to cuts and blood. And that was before the head clash that caused that nasty, wide cut to the upper side of the head. Not side of the head, but the side of the forehead of Chantelle Cameron. Even before that, I was thinking, oh man, just the way that this fight is going, they're gonna hit faces again, at least a couple of times. But that was almost one of the beauties of this fight. Like, it's unfortunate when you get a cut caused by a head clash. That's very frustrating. I remember the frustration of watching Timothy Bradley versus Devin Alexander when they were both, like, undefeated, top champions, or watching, the rematch with Mauricio Lara versus Josh Warrington. Like, watching that rematch, super frustrating. You're like, damn, like, these clashes of heads are just impacting everything. And I thought that we were going to very possibly have a moment where somebody gets a cut over the eye and the fight has to be stopped. But when I say that there was a beauty in that, reality to that fight, it was because Katie Taylor, yes, again, she was faster. She seemed like she was just getting off quicker, moving better. But I feel like a significant contributing reason to why she won that fight was because it just seemed like she gave lesser Fs when it came to the possibility of head clashes. Like, I felt like Chantelle Cameron seemed more bothered by the clashes and seemed more intimidated to not want to even jump inside because of the possibility of a head clash. Like, I felt like it impacted her approach, whether that was because she was actually physically getting the brunt and the worst of those head clashes, whether that was what was leading to her seeming more altered by the head clashes. I mean, she did have a wide gash open up on the side of her head. So yeah, I think that there was an impact to that. But still, it just seemed like if there were these 50-50 head clash scenarios where either person could get hurt and get the worst end of that head clash, the fact that Katie Taylor seemed to care less, seemed to be more, I'm not going to let that stop whatever my plan is. Like, it just seemed like Katie Taylor approached the fight with that energy. And I feel like, you know, whether there was going to be a cut that opened up in this fight or not, it just seemed like that mattered, because she was, as Richard Dwyer would put it, she would be the one running more red lights and just seeming a little bit more ruthless, even from a physical standpoint. Yeah, Chantelle Cameron was the bigger fighter, the seemingly or believed to be stronger fighter because of what we saw, especially in that first fight. But she wasn't the nastier fighter in there today in this rematch. The nastier fighter was Katie Taylor. And this might be the most significant and most legacy rewarding win in Katie Taylor's career. And this is somebody who had that groundbreaking showdown with Amanda Serrano last year, and who had the 2 fights, you know, with Delphine Pursoon, and you know, title unification, fight after title unification, on the way to becoming undisputed lightweight champion. Like, Katie Taylor has not fought a bunch of fights, but she's had a historically significant career because of what she's been doing. Basically, nearly her whole career has been at the upper elite level, and she's just been carrying that out. And then having the mega fights like Serrano, and then this rematch to try to vindicate her only career loss. Like, this was big time. This was very, very big time. And I just think that it was inspirational that Katie Taylor gave so little F's about whether there were going to be head clashes, whether there was going to be blood, whether this was just going to be a vicious fight. It just seemed like she wanted to smoke a little bit more than Chantelle Cameron. And I mean, again, it sucks. I mean, that Cameron had a cut open up like that on her head. Like, that had to have impacted this fight to a large degree. And, you know, maybe if it was Katie Taylor who ended up getting a cut to the side of her head, she would be the more, you know, slightly more reluctant to just pull the trigger. It just seemed like Katie Taylor was just pulling the trigger time and time again. She just seemed like she was just unloading for this entire fight. Unloading with the hands, unloading with the body, with the head, with the, no, you're not moving me around. I'm going to jostle you, and I'm going to start punching in the clinches first. Like, yes, there were times when Chantelle Cameron was punching in the clinches. It just seemed like Katie Taylor was the one initiating that energy. Like, it's going to be that kind of fight type of energy. It seemed like Katie Taylor was bringing that. And she would be the one who would punch right after the bell and just be cutting it close, where just as the bell sounds, getting another 1, maybe even 2 in. Katie Taylor was doing all that. Yes, she's got the reputation of being a nice person and being a class act, and she is all these things. She seems like a very nice person and a class act, but there was nothing classy aside from the skill that she showed. But this fight was more trash than it was class. For all the class that was executed, and again, there are conversations to be had about the technical improvements that Katie Taylor made in this rematch, but a lot of that was just no, that was all here. So yeah, hats off to Katie Taylor. She is all of those things, all of those superlatives that people heap on some of the greatest legacies. Yeah, Katie Taylor is that. And they will book a trilogy fight, it seems, and they're trying to have it at Croke Park. That was what they were trying to have, the Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano rematch at the major stadium, from what I understand. That has kind of been like the holy grail of destinations in terms of where Katie Taylor could eventually land on the biggest of stages. So we'll see if this trilogy fight happens there, but man, like, this was a big one. This was a big one, especially when you consider the narratives going into this rematch. She was pretty much supposed to lose this fight, and everybody was going to applaud her because she did her best, that type of a thing, and made it a close and maybe unforgettable but a competitive fight. It's like, no. She was taking no prisoners today. And maybe over time, people do forget about the narratives that went into fights. There's a lot of, adjusting your expectations because you just saw the fight. So now you're going to have a different recollection. You're going to forget how much of a surprise, or how much somebody wasn't supposed to do that. They weren't supposed to be able to do that. And then they do that. And then the expectations and, and the mental paradigm changes after the fight. And after weeks have passed after the fight. And then months and years eventually pass after the fight. Don't forget where you were and what you thought going in to Chantelle Cameron versus Katie Taylor 2. And you know what? I've got receipts. I'll always remember what I thought because I lost money tonight on Katie Taylor versus Chantelle Cameron 2. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts on this one were and what they are. In the comments, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.